The ARL-44 experience. The ARL-44 was a French heavy tank developed at the tail end of World War II, being protected by 120mm on the front, 50mm on both the side and rear, while the turret was protected by 30mm all around and 110mm in the front maglet. After Paris was liberated in August 1944, the French provincial government wanted to continue tank production as soon as possible, but most of their light tanks and medium tanks was at this stage of the war heavily out of date, so they turned to the DEFA to design and produce a heavy tank. Being equipped with the powerful 90mm SA-45 cannon, it can fire two different types of shells. First being an APC-BC shell with a whopping 248mm of pen, and lastly a HE shell with 17mm of pen. The idea of the ARL-44 the French had in mind was a new heavy tank to help the Allies compete against Germany's heaviest tanks like Tiger 1 and Tiger 2. However, not one of these tanks was ever made before World War II ended, being only in production from 1949 to 1951. In War Thunder, the ARL-44 is one of the first truly competitive tanks in the French tech tree that you can get your hands on, being placed at a respected PR 5.3 rank 3, fighting enemies like American M4A2s, M4A3E2s, M36, German Tiger 1s, BK302Ms, Panzer IV/70Bs, and lastly some Soviet tanks like the T-3485 and SU-85M. Some pros of the ARL-44 are, with its 90mm cannon you'll be able to pen anyone. You don't need to grind for a better shell as you start with the best one. And lastly, if lucky enough and angled right, you can bounce some incoming shells. However, some cons of the ARL-44 are, its main shell is only an AP shot, meaning no explosive filler when penning a tank. Other than its front being heavily armored, the whole side and turret can be penned by a 50mm cannon alone. And lastly, when head-on to a flare, most of the time you would just shoot your front turret plate as it's only protected by 30mm of steel. Overall, the ARL-44 is, I would say, a fantastic tank to play, especially coming from the Helvo, which is known as French low tier. It's definitely a nice treat. Now, it might not be the best tank compared to its predecessors, but it's still a tank to be especially terrified of, as unlike other tanks where you need to grind to get a better shell, this tank's stock shell is already very good. One problem you might experience is having to shoot an enemy twice or even 3 times, as the ARL-44 lacks any HE filler in its main shell. Still, even with that little bit of a downside, I would still give the AR-44 a 7.5 out of 10.